Hello, everybody. Today's trade cap for January 29th, 2026. And today, we had a very chaotic day, right? We had a very strong downside move on the indices. Gold also had a very strong downside move, right? So pretty much everything dipped in the first hour and 30 minutes of market open, right? We had a nice recovery, right, rest of the day, but in the first hour and 30 minutes, very, very strong downside push. And so, I'll talk about like what I saw it say and kind of which opportunities I kind of missed out on and stuff like that. So this will be a good video if you are a beginner or you're just trying to learn how to trade. But anyway, so what do we see in the first 5 minutes of market open, right? We're breaking below our key levels, right? We're breaking below pre-market low, our previous day low, right? So that looks like we're kind of bearish on the higher time frame, right? Very, very strong price action to the downside, right? No really bullish market structure, right? It's only bearish market structure. We're just continuing bearish market structure, right? So very easy money to be made today, right? Like if you had a losing day today, that just means you either missized properly or you just didn't hold long enough, right? Or you just had to move wrong. But like, come on, So yeah, so I took two trades today, right? One on MU and then one on Nvidia. So I'll kind of talk about those two trades, right? And how I managed them. So MU, right? I was kind of looking at the higher time frame. So I saw his name kind of breaking out of Hive Day while hold up. While QQQ and SPY were like, I didn't know this by back like when I took this trade this morning, right? But like, QQ and SPY were dropping, right? But MU was trying to break his pre-market high, right? Trying to break his key level. So I'm like, okay, you know what? If this name looks good on the higher time frame, maybe I can play this name to like a move to the its all-time highs, right? All-time highs level is this 152 level. So I want to see MU get to that all-time high level today, right? That was the thesis behind this trade. So simply just took this trade off this break this order block right here, right? Just nothing insane, right? Simply just enter above this order block, right? Stop loss below this order block, right? Not this entire order block, but simply below this order block plus this 5 minute range high, right? So a combination of that, right? And we had a nice move, right? Nice $3 move on MU for around a 20% win, but I mean, nothing too crazy, right? So we just came back down, retested that 5 minute range high, right? Plus order block, bounced off, showed nice price action, but we couldn't make another. We couldn't break this high of day, so we came back down, rejected very hard. So I got stopped out of this trade. So, um, this is not a big win, right? I think like a $500 win. So I actually have to upgrade my trade Zella, right? So even on like my server, I actually have to update that later, right? So let me get that out, right? So my server, right? So 560 for the day, right? On that MU trade. I actually need to update it because I took that Nvidia trade. I never sent that trade. So I'll actually talk about this Nvidia trade, right? Didn't really alert this because it kind of happens too quickly. There's no point of alerting something that is happening kind of quickly. But the thesis, right, is we have to understand that the QQQ and SPY are very weak. Very, very weak, right? We want to see which tech names are also looking very weak, breaking its low of day. We can have very, very good risk to reward on these types of days. You can basically like if you can understand price action and market structure, your risk to reward can be so insane on these types of downside days. So that's what you really have to understand on these types of days. So on Nvidia, I took a trade on this very simple, right? So I missed out on this good entry over here on this 191 break. So a good entry, right, would have seen this 191 area, right? So well, let me put this over here. So I saw that Nvidia, right, was just, kind of just, chopping around in the first 15 minutes, just coming down low, bouncing off our key level, right? But QQ and Spark continue this downside trend. So I want to see Nvidia also kind of now break low of day and also continue that downside move. So I want to be involved in that. So what entries are like viable in my opinion, right? So there's two entries I see on this name. So one is this 191 break right here. So 191 key level, right? We can clearly see we had support right here, broke below it, reclaimed it, right? Came back below, retested it, came back up, and then rejected and came back below. So you kind of can see at this level, we're only wicking, right? There's no bodies at this level because if we do have a body like this, right, we're closing above the level. So this is a level of key buying and selling. So if you want to understand the context, right, we can see QQ and SPAR at low of day. So I could have entered at this candle closure down here, right? Stop loss above that 191, but also kind of give it some more space above this 5 minute range high. So I would stop loss above here and TP simply at low of day, right? Or continuation at pre-market low. So it's not pre-market low. Pre-market low, right? So I used to really want to see his name show continuation, right? And that would have been the first entry. I didn't take this entry, right? This is what the best entry would have been. But the entry I took was a little bit worse, but I understood my risk and my reward, right? Option trading is all about understanding your risk and your reward and what the context is happening in the markets, right? So what's happening on QQ and SPY, right? We're dropping very aggressively, right? Making lower lows and lower highs, lower lows and lower highs, right? And then, usually a weak price action is elevator down or escalator down, people like to say, right? Whereas bullish price action is usually stair step up, while strong selling is elevator down, right? Selling usually is more panic, while buying is a little more structured, right? So that's why you have to be a little bit more aggressive on these like type of selling days, right? So I simply took an entry on Nvidia puts, right, underneath this previous day low, stop loss above this previous day low, right? So risk very minimal, and then the TP simply would have been a low of day and also continuation, right? So I had no set TPs on this name, right? So you just want to see a continuation move to the downside. And if we did break below, then I would find more TPs, right? So what TPs were there, right? If I wanted to find some more TPs, right? So we've targeted these lows right here. Um, these lows right here, which we literally tapped perfectly, right? So this low right here, we literally touched these lows previously from this previous day, right? So where the hell is Nvidia? So right? So this technically would have been our TP right here, which you could technically bomb tick this area. Look, we literally bomb tick that key level, which your TPs need to be places of strong buying and selling, right? Notice how right when we touch this TP area, we instantly bounce and bounce again, right? So that would have been the actual TP if the trade had continuation, right? But for me, I entered this trade, I got 20%, and then I got stopped out. Why did I stop myself out? Bro, I'm not gonna lie, I shouldn't have stopped myself out, right? So I got this 20%, 25% pop right on these contracts, and then I just saw us chopping around. So at this chop, I just got stopped out, right? I think I got stopped out at this candle right above here. So, very, very bad management by me. I'm not gonna lie, right? I was a little bit heavier size in this trade, so I want to kind of close this trade in the green still, right? This trade I was a little bit heavier size than I normally am, right? This trade was around a $10,000 position, so I was around 50 contracts. So this was a little bit more of a expensive position, because I knew my risk and my reward was kind of tight, and it would have worked out instantly. So if I held this trade, I would have made what a $3 move to a downside contracts probably moved at least 150. So I probably made like $15,000, right? So I'll probably name this title "How I Missed Out on 15,000" or "How I Lost $15,000," something like that, right? But otherwise, the thesis was correct and everything did play out, but just did not hold enough in this chop, right? I wanted to really see us kind of continue this momentum down with spine QQQ, but I just entered in the chop, right? And just did not hold long enough. Simple. Like, right? There's no point in me stopping out of this trade because it technically didn't go above my level, but I just saw us kind of chopping around in exit position, right? So I was happy with the profits from the MU trade and kind of happy at the scalp at this low day, right? So if I did hold, it technically would have been a bit 150% trade, right? I can technically say this trade was 150% trade, right? But I didn't sell 150%, I only sold at 25%, 20% down here. I got stopped out for like 5% up here. So yeah, that's pretty much the trade recap for today, right? Today it was still a green day, right? So still a good day, but a lot of opportunities were here today, right? A lot of money could have been made, but just a lot of money was not made, right? The money was made, but like not a lot of money, considering such a big move to the downside, these downside moves, right? You know, you can expect to make more money on these types of continuation days, upside and downside, right? Because the contracts will be more deep in the money, right? Especially with this strong price action. So I'm not gonna complain, right? Today was a little bit trickier for me specifically because I tried taking this MU trade, right, long in this while QQ Inspire weak because it looked good on a higher time frame, right? But we just had no buyers, right? Because QQ Inspire just kept dropping. So yeah, that's pretty much a trade recap for today, right? You can kind of understand how I'm entering these trades just simply based off kilos and price action alone, right? I know my risk, I know my reward, and if I do, I can wait for confirmation off these levels, right? Sometimes I don't wait for confirmation like today, but on days I will wait for confirmation, right? And confirmation is simply like a pullback into that level and strong price action around that level, And what does strong price action look like? Simply like a wick off this level, right? So we came back and wick back up, so you could technically enter right here. But on MU, the contract spreads were very, very wide, so this is a little bit of a trickier name to trade, right? You only trade these types of names when there's a higher time frame thesis. So if you look at hourly chart on MU, right now it looks a little bit better because we had that after hours move, but on the hourly time frame, it looked very, very good, right? We clearly see us making higher highs and higher lows for the past weeks, like months. So, I am looking at Trey's name tomorrow. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much trade cap for today. I'll probably title this some clickbait title like how I missed down $15,000 because technically I did. But yeah. So if you guys have any questions, comment down below. And this is pretty much real trading, guys. Real trading is you just understanding your risk, you're understanding your reward, understanding the market context, and letting the probabilities play out, right? Once you know how to trade, you understand how to make money long term, right? The only hard part about trading is when you try scaling up, because then it messes with your psychology and messes with your system that you already have made, right? Because sometimes you have to wait for your levels to play out. You have to wait for sometimes you will get the drawdown in your levels, and you have to just wait and see what happens, right? Because there can be buyers that step up at your level. That's why your area of stop loss needs to be an area of buyers, a strong support or a strong a strong support or a strong area of resistance that's now turned into support, right? So this area we came back down to MU, right? I was gonna get stopped out if we closed below this area, right? But this area we bounced off of it, and then we kind of showed a nice bounce off it. Unfortunately, we didn't close above high, we didn't have that continuation as I wanted. But you have to have your stop loss in area of strong buying and selling. So that's kind of the hard part about options trading, right? And where the big learning curve is that you have to understand that you have to kind of trust your levels and wait and be patient. So yeah, so that's pretty much a trade cap for today. Now the markets kind of are in a weird spot, right? Apple earnings, what is price action? Apple earnings were good, right? We can clearly see market went up, so Apple earnings should have been decent, right? So Apple earnings are up a little bit, right? Nothing happening on AMD. Nvidia had a nice bounce, I think. Yeah, Nvidia. No, it's just coming back down after hours. So we'll see what it opens up tomorrow, right? That's what the most important thing is. What opens up tomorrow. But we can see like names like SNDK have a huge pop after hours with strong earnings. This name is absolutely insane. This name is a little bit harder to trade, right? You have to kind of, if you're trading this name intraday options, right? You have to be a god tier scalper. You have to understand how to get in and out very quickly because the contracts are so like spread apart, like absolutely insane. So yeah. So if you guys have any questions, comment down below. I don't know how this video is right, 11 minutes long. Like, what's wrong with this light above my head? So yeah. If you guys have any questions, just join Discord and type in the train chat, and then please like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next video. Peace.